and 2 children. He is a teacher by profession. He is a teacher by profession. He's a secretary of Mpumalanga region. And he is my friend. He is also my younger brother. But he married me. He is none other than the man who worked this company, Bonamaru Investment. He comes from the intelligence of investing. Now he has opened his own company called Bonamaru. His name is Mr. Steve Mungwe, who's going to give us a talk for now. Mr. Mungwe, the floor is yours. Dumela Mazalani. There's one verse, more Bible link, that I find very scary, especially every time we meet as men. This is a verse that honestly keeps me on my toes all the time. Every time you obonokari kinale age ya go bereka and to go a little extra mile and make a little more money, you have this verse to blame for that. The story is told of this prophet of God, a mighty man of God. He's flowing in the prophetic, and he's got a group of other young guys, and I think they're learning from him. He's mentoring them, and they're also prophets, and the Bible calls them the sons of the prophet. Now, a wife to one of these young guys dies. So he dies, and the prophet himself, Elisha, comes around, and this woman cries out to him, Ori, go 2 Kings. I know that we don't have much time, but if you don't mind, can we just read that? 2 Kings 4, only that first verse. It's failing out of the speedy fella. We bala ka cell phone, la mukimela bazalwane, ka cell phone. All right. No, I was just checking. I'm reading cell phone near Bible. All right, go ahead.
Yeah. Now the wife of the son of the prophet cried to Elisha, "Your servant, my husband, is dead. You know that your servant feared the Lord, but the creditor has come to take my 2 sons to be his slaves."
Yeah. Right. Okay. This woman is a widow. She has just lost a husband, and he cries out to the man of God, "My husband, your servant, is dead." She goes on to say, "You know how he feared the Lord." And the woman says, "But." But, okay, my husband, your servant, is dead. And man of God, you know how my husband feared the Lord. But, but how you almost are cancelling whatever else, or you're bringing whatever else you said before under review. Yeah, he was my husband. He saved you. He saved you. Man of God, he saved you. Whenever you say to him, jump, he would say, how high? That's how much he saved you, and you know how much he feared the Lord. But the creditor is now at my doorstep, and he wants to take my 2 sons away. Why? As slaves, because nakolota mtaku. Yeah, he might have been flowing in a prophetic, but not a lot. Yeah, and Muntata, I think this is a bit worrying, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, I don't want to be that man, but hey, what's about Steve Narata Modimo? Look at the moto, ki ditshebelo tsonta BMD. Ke ba re fela ba re go ngane tsoseletso ka mola. Le aya go teng. What's about hlompa baruti? Aba hlompa le leadership ina hlompa. Gagolo. Steve. What a good man. And he feared the Lord. Now we found Steve now. But so they have all Augustrate. Ntubaijile. Ichileke banka, ne? Yeah. And then Banabakhache are also in trouble. But with the good column. So they cannot feel like as by way of intro. I find it very worrying.
Yeah.
And I think it reflects on us as men, we no doubt love the Lord. Yeah, we love the Lord, man. We're passionate about the gospel, the cross and everything that goes with that. And that's the main thing, don't get me wrong. That's the way it should be. But and I appreciate for the BMD leadership it shows we want to deal with that bad part. While it's good that we should love the Lord and serve the Lord and respect leadership and that sort of thing, but we make sure we leave a legacy. Not the Lord, eh? For many, le ga dutse mo le trusting Allah. Alle pila bazelwani. Le tlhole le one le. Yeah. What's gonna le golla? Gona le golla fela. O ba cheke ge balla. Ga balle ka tshwana, ne? O mo walla o yel. La walla man le bonor mare oro motoba go kholema mara o mo walla me o mo wona walla le o le trusting walla with the one eye closed, the other eye is open, ne? I shout out lefu la it's a sad loss. It's a sad loss. The husband is no more. It's sad, ne? Mara. One thing is for sure: when the dust has settled, this woman lebana batola pilega go pil. Never so right so funny. Yeah, make no fella retrifiti se fela momotsileng fela gore retso moyo na fela eo, ne? Yes. We need to leave a legacy, not only go family Zarona, but look at the again, look at Ntweka bona or high right. Kizama Lukisa, Hakira so. Let Lampota Bona or I, Biamona Okari Raivon. Yeah. Now, I know that Dr. Mashawe has covered quite a bit of ground, and I missed out on all of that. So, if I happen to touch on some things that he already has touched on. But let us mind not to hear it again. If it's good, it's good. Mara, kiana tabayaro nahe khanyani fela. Yeah. You know the vision of the Baptist Convention of South Africa? We know it, ne? King? What's the vision of the BCSA? Sorry? Impacting lives, ne? Right. And there are some couple of key performance areas, ne? That are
5 of them.
That are mentioned, 5 of them.
Yes.
Yeah. Kana King now there's missions and leadership development. Financial mobilization and sustainability. Now, this is just my view. I think of all those key performance areas, The one that is the most neglected is financial mobilization and sustainability. Because I think for some strange reasons, we understand that to mean we must continue with tithe of tithe and with AA2 and with the conventional. And I think that's how far our financial mobilization and sustainability goes, which I think is a bit unfortunate. Because now the mobilization, it means you want to cause movement, you want to create some action that wasn't there before. That's. But if you want to maintain what has already been going on, you haven't started mobilizing. Do you agree with me? Now, I think at the heart of the problem, of the bigger picture, we are simply not a saving nation. We are a consuming nation. You agree, ne?
Yeah.
I think that's very well documented. At the moment, the inflation rate, yeah, 5.9%. I'm just putting that deliberately so that you can weigh whatever investment that you have against that. And if you're in an investment that is not at least giving you over that margin, it's as good as you putting your money under the pillow. Am I right? Because you're saving, you're getting 5% return at the end of the year, and yet the inflation rate is more than that. So I think this should be the benchmark of any investment that is worth talking about. It must at least give you something above that inflation rate. Now, household savings, and this is according to State South Africa, at the moment 1.7%. And household debt at the moment is 76%. Household disposable income is 24%. Now let's bring it home. It means if Ntate Mike Molefe akhola 10,000 rand, what it means ke gore also even 1.7% of that. That's basically what it means, which is about 170 rand. That's what he's doing. I'm not saying that's what he should be doing, but that's what is happening at the moment. But even more worrying is the debt that out of the 10,000 rand,
7,600.
how much is that? 7,600 hasia high. Le ha itla mo yena ne itla mo yena go trophy ta fela ya tloka gore marketseni se le ka ken then it goes to niggas, yeah, the real owner, which could be Bradlow's or West Bank or some guy who hasn't seen the front door of a school ke mashonisa mara o tswere motlhanka wa morena ntate Molefe o phela boye tshwantsa mo nna metsi ka mela gore motlhanka go mo tswela pele a go gape a tlo fologa mara go fologa wa nna mela gape. Okay, he's earning 10,000 rand, but 7.6 is not his, because he is very heavily indebted. And that is the problem, and that leaves him with only 2.4 basically. So la ra mothabela gore o hola 10 mara pila o hola 2.4. All right, and I think that's a bit worrying, is it not? I think it's a bit worrying, which is why records also say that only 4% of the working population in South Africa will retire comfortably. Yeah. The 96% will depend on government for social security, and I think we don't want to be among the 96%. But sadly, South Africa and China and India are regarded as the emerging economies. And yet, if you look at China and India, they save about just over 30% of their GDP. It is saving stubble. On the contrary, South Africa is saving less than 15% of our gross domestic product, which is also a bit of a problem. Now, we need to change that culture we really need to. We need to embrace a culture of saving and investing. And we're not going to get it right at this level. That's my humble submission. We need to get it right from local church. Okay? The one thing that has always been worrying me, go Ekangala Baptist Church, and I think we could say the same about your church and your church and your church and your church. The only time we talk about money, quite frankly, is if we're reminding each other of our obligation. Okay, which is good. 10%. And of course you are. I don't know if you relieve. Mara. My point to go we are more concerned about the 10%, and we're very less concerned about the 90%. So as long as which is at 10%, we don't want to know how can we help you to even make more, so that that 10% that we're asking for, that we are reminding you of, ibe sizable in tate mashish. So my point to Kohori, and I think I'm right because it is in line, Ravik, with the vision Yarnaya financial mobilization. Let us teach people how to make money. Then we can say to them, bring tithes and offerings. I'm not saying Harasaba Ruta, we have no right to. They are still obliged. Harasaba Ruta, Shem. But I'm just saying it, for me, it's sort of hardly concerned with my brother. What are you doing? But we hardly ever do that. And I think as men, we might want to take that responsibility of ensuring that there is a persistent and deliberate and consistent financial literacy program. Well, look on it starts there, because whatever that we're planning for BMD, if we're going to think that our plans must be good enough for this BMD, then I think we're guilty for some dereliction of duty and responsibility, because for the BMD be strong, and we need to be on them and help them avoid making the mistakes that we made. The reason I'm passionate about issues of financing is not because I have a lot of money, but it is because I don't want people to make the mistakes that I made when I started working. For instance, mojaha bereka kirikenge abadwetsa kiri wa bereka okola 10,000 one Hawaii klaila. You've never earned a salary. That out of that first income ya gago, take 30% ya yona, which is how much money? 3,000 rand. Can you afford to do that? Of course you can. Why? That's your first salary. You've never earned a salary before. Haona dikoloto, haona account gasi efelangiri. You can buy for 12,000 rand. Now you can buy for 50. My credit has gone up, as if it's your money, and yet it's putting you into further trouble. So I think if you are like me, maybe you write and then, but I did not get that education, and that is why I'm determined to ensure it. Now there are several ways of doing investments. I'm just worried about Nako. And I haven't even given you time to ask questions. Now, there are many ways of investing money. Many ways of investing money, and I believe that Dr. Mashao touched on those 1,000 rand at the end of the year, but la lebucha ka 5,000 rand. All right, maybe less the mola bank charges, bank fees, and you might get yourself a nice 4,400 rand in return. Okay, which is but then it's very low risk. Okay, very low risk. You can go into SA retail bonds, same thing on average, about 8%, 7.5%, you know, from time to time, depending on how much you put in. But basically, the best thing that can happen to you if you put money through conventional ways of investing is 8%, you know. I think that's the best case scenario. Am I right, Brad?
Yeah.
You know, 8%, which means on your 10,000 rand, on your 100,000 rand, quite frankly, or 8,000 rand in 12 months, you know, and that says that Nogria 666 every month, okay, on your 100,000 rand, 666. And that's a very bad number. I want to 666 and 2 number 666. I get that. 666. Mario, like you're 666. All right. Now you've got a choice to go that route because you don't want to have anything to do with anything that is risky. And then there are some far better investment classes, but they will attract some higher level of risk. For instance, the stocks, you know, securities, the stocks. You can invest on the JSE, you know. Fortunately, anybody can invest on the JSE, unlike Khal, you know. And I think we owe that to the advent of the kind of technology that we have today. You can open your own trading account, your own online share trading account. You don't even have to pay for opening that account. You can open that account, fund that account, and begin to transact. Now, if you want to go the JSE route, Leon, in a very different instruments that you can trade, you know, that you can trade. And I don't think the aim here this session is to take you through all of those because it's not possible. We just don't have the time to do that. But I think the aim is to just say, let's conscientize you, really, it ain't to ESO, and then we can always make follow-ups, maybe on a one-on-one or smaller groups, got to break into Asia. But if you want to, for instance, you want to play very, very, very safe, but still on the stock market, you could go the basket route. In other words, you're not buying a share, a single share. You don't buy Vodacom, or you don't buy ShopRite, or BHP Billiton, but you buy an index. You know, for instance, you've got your Cetrix 40, which is the top 40 performing companies on the JSE. You know, the system organizes them up automatically. You know, all the top docs are in there. You know, all the top guys are in there. 40 of them. You know, so when you invest, and you can buy that index as if you're buying a single share. All right. Now it's a very smart way of diversifying. You know, because you've got a stake in mobile telecom. You've got a stake in gold mining, gold fields, you've got a stake maybe in retail because of Masmat holding game macro. You've got, so you can do that. Now, how can Shema Fela over the last 10 years, for instance, that index has grown by on average about 30, you know, say 25-30% per annum. Okay, my point, it is very low risk. Okay, and yet it will offer you far more than the 8% or the 5% that the bank will give you. All right, it's just a question of knowing about that and getting in at the right time. All right, but if you're a guy that you've got age on your side, you've got a huge risk appetite, then you can make money on other more complex instruments like your CFDs. You know, they call them derivatives, and this is how they work. For instance, now, I trade a lot of those instruments on a daily basis. That's what I do. I trade. I'm the guy that sits on several screens every day and watch the markets. It can be very boring at times, but that's what I do. And that's how I make some money. That's how I earn a living. All right? I trade. Get in and out of the market all the time. I got onto a trade, Mabani, but it was just a deliberate trade. How possible it is to make 2% profit in a day. In fact, that's my target. You know, 2% in a day, 2% profit every day. You know, some days are better, you make 5%. Some days you make 10% in one day. But if I can make 2% profit in a day, I'm very happy. That's my target. Now 2% in a day is about 10% in a week. But these are very aggressive instruments. You've got to know what you're doing. You've got to have the right knowledge and the right tools, the right software programs you're following, and the right support. He spoke of having a mentor. I have my own mentor, and I don't mind being somebody else's mentor. I see people in the audience that already, I can proudly say they're learning from what I'm doing, and they're enjoying it so far. It's making them money, and I'm happy about that. On the right. All right. Now, you know, like you know, your CFDs in the Demashal. It's more like you want to buy NASPAS. Now, NASPAS is one of the most expensive shares on the JSE. You know NASPAS, ne?
Yeah.
Kia di newspaper, media, ne? Little DSTV kia bona, ne? They've got business interests not only in South Africa, Australia, and then they're big, but their share is very expensive. It's now just over 600 Rand for one share. The problem is, not too many of us can afford to buy a NASPAS share because they are dura. You need 600 Rand for share one share, 600 Rand. So on the Demalefeka 2.4 high can afford how many shares in NASPAS? Only 4 shares. And that's nothing to write home about. Can only 4 shares go NASPAS. Shares about a meeting with the shareholder. Okay, now here's the point. Okay, Gafet, here's the point. If you need 100 shares, it's a NASPAS. Then you need how much money? Just 100 shares. It's a NASPAS. At 600 Rand a share, you need 60,000 Rand. Okay, now not too many of us have that kind of money that we can put away on one stock, ne? Right? But if you buy what you call a contract for difference, it's called a contract for difference, a CFD. You're gonna pay. You get the same 100 shares, but you're paying a deposit. You're only paying a margin. For simplicity, that margin is 10%. So you pay 10% of this amount of money. Now you pay 6,000 Rand. You only invest 6,000 Rand. But you get how many shares of NASPAS? 100 shares. As if you paid 60. But you only paid a margin. Right. Now, if NASPAS share goes up that day by just 1 Rand, for argument's sake, or let's say by 5 Rand, and of course it can go up by 5 Rand in one day. Very possible. By 5 Rand in one day, how much money have you made? How many shares do you have? 100 shares. Now the share price has gone up by 5 Rand. How much have you made? You've made 500 Rand. But how much did you invest? 6,000 Rand. Okay? You've invested 6,000 Rand and you've made 500 Rand. What percentage growth have you just realized? That's about 8%, 8.3% profit. Now the same, 8% on that day, but that's because you did not buy the ordinary share, which would have cost you 600 Rand a share. You went to the other route. You only paid a margin, but that money is yours. You've made that money. Whereas the one that bought the ordinary share has made the same profit, the same margin, not in percentage, but in Rand value. He's also made 500 Rand, but he had put in 60. You only put in 6,000. He put in 60, and he's got out of the 60, he now has 60,500 in his account. If you're gonna work out, I go blame. He's made very little. He's actually made. I'll tell you now. He's made 0.8% profit. All right, on the same stock. He's made 0.8%, you've made 8%. How many of us have Bondo? Right. So what's up? It's worth 1 million. Do you have 1 million? You don't have 1 million. You only have a deposit. The bank says, give us a deposit, and then we'll finance you. All right? And but let's say 10%, maybe, 10%. Then unta 100,000 rent. Not the 1 million. 100,000 rent. A deposit. And then you get that house. Is it your house? Yes, it's your house. It's your house. It's your house. Right. To an extent that they don't say not feel a deposit out of this room with only 4 bedrooms. To access to 2 of the rooms and lock out the other 2 rooms. You still get the whole house. The same as Ola Orikilen ka 1 million cash are not cash. We're together then, eh? Yeah. Now, let's say there are some positive developments in the area, and the price, the market, the property value goes up, and that property is now worth 1.2 million. Okay, in about 3 months. Can you sell the house? Yes. When all what positive fella? Yes. Can you sell it? Yes. Can you sell it? Yeah. You can sell it. You sell the house at 1.2 million. Now the question goes, how much rent value profit have you made? 200,000, didn't it? Mm-hmm. Now, in terms of profit, in terms of percentage, when it's 100%. 100%. 100%. 200%. 20%. 20%. 20%, 200%. You've made 200% profit. You know why? Because how much what was your capital outlay, Ndate Mashiach? 100. Okay? You had 100 in your account. Worry, this is Kibiayon. Now you've got 200 AL, and now you've got how much money in your account? 300,000. You've got 300,000. You had 100, now you've got 300. Yes. So what percentage growth have you realized? 200%. And that's your profit. But that guy that put down the whole 1 million, same property, same appreciation, same rent value profit, 200,000. But in terms of percentage growth, how much has he made? How much has he made? He had 1 million, now he has 1 million, 1.2 million. 20%. He's made 20%. So I've given you 2 pictures of 2 people that go into the same transaction, but realize different percentage growth. And that's what I'm talking about, like we're getting CFDs. And these are some of the wonderful, wonderful instruments. Banka engwe in the guys, derivatives traders. And those guys are trading this instrument. The growth they are derivatives traders. Banka, when you invest in banking, that's what they do with your money, because that's their job. Derivatives traders. They trade CFDs, they trade single stock futures, etc., etc. Now, point time as I close, you can also do the same. All right? You can do the same as long as you've got the right knowledge. That is my emphasis. Get the right knowledge and get the right tools that you can use. Get the right support if you want to go into those sort of instruments. Get a mentor, a guy that can hold you by your hand every step of the way and show you the ropes. And you can make money. You can make good money. Now, lastly, here's my brother. What? Hey, but now Ropa Nagungu Liha Lirangari Umfana, Umfana. So, he bought. I'm back on that low risk style. Now, this is a true story. This is his statement. His statement. He bought Coronation, one of the companies that are listed on the JSE. I hope he doesn't mind me revealing this. He didn't make a bit of money. He bought 500 Coronation shares. Quite a while ago, the date on the 30th of March 2007, and at the time, one share was 8 Rand 42. So he invested 3,880. Today, how many years later? 2007, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, about 6 years later, that share that was 8.42 when he bought it is 54 rand, okay, per share. All right, now it's now 54 rand a share, and now we regularly 8.40 a share. You know what that means? That means it's about 542% growth in, let's say, 5 or 6 years, 7 years. I need to divide that by 6. So that's about 90% per annum that he made over the period. 90% per year of growth on Coronation. Now that was not active investing. That was passive. We regularly put the matsogo fela. Now he actually has, if you ask me, he's got 27,000 rand out of 3,800 rand, and that's on a share. This is just an example of how you can still make money, even if you're not watching the screen. You don't have to. I don't expect people to do that. Okay, some of us do it because we love it and because that's our bread and butter. All right, but even if you just get a good company that you can invest in and just wait, I believe you can still make more than what the bank will offer you, because at the end of the day, if you give it to them, they take it there to the JSE. So we're saying with the right knowledge, the right tools, the right support, we can cut out the middlemen and have you gain direct access onto the markets. I think that's the long and short of it. You know, you know, and then we can, you know, no middleman, no high priest. Or guy canalizer, you know. There's the forex market as well, very, very volatile market. Can be very dangerous, can be very rewarding if you know what you're doing. I mean, all you need to do is listen to the news yesterday, and the European Central Bank is about to make an announcement on their rate, you know, or the non-farm payroll Yamabani, which pushed the US dollar very high, but because the figures were good, you know. So basically, it's all about knowing what you want, knowing what your goals are, what your objectives are, how risk averse you are, and just be prepared to learn if you want to go into some of these things. I like what Dr. Mashao said, you know, spending time learning. And you know, Warren Buffett at age 20. Now, these are some of the guys that made their money on stocks, on shares. Warren Buffett. At age 20, he had gone through 100 books. At age 20, he had read 100 books on investing. Now, if you say you're serious about investing, how many books have you read on investing? You know, you want to hide it in a book. You show auto ramba he won't find it in the next 50 years. Are there any questions? Maybe fill out for 2 minutes, 3 minutes. I know I might have messed up the leadership in Monacheka.
No, Bazaman, I just want you to look at this and ask yourself, where are you? In household savings, about statistics South Africa. How are you most of Africa? But to background 100 rand, suppose 100 rand, but spend a fella 1 rand 70 in savings. Lautorari, where now go guy? Where now and your family, where are you? How much are you saving for Barabahao and for China? Number 2, household debt, 76%. What about to background 100 rand? 76 rand has here born. Obuleti that they are enough touch a fella account to Tawana Maria somewhere. We know how much the money is going in Nangoen. How much of it goes away. So you tell how do they apply to you?
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. Arasimule, right at the back there. Yes, my brother. Oh, Muruti. Oh, Nikira, my brother. Yes, my brother. Sorry, Muruti.
You mentioned something that about the two guys who bought the shares differently.
Yes.
The other one went straight. I'm not sure about those terms. The other one went
the other way.
The other way.
Yeah.
They used the house scenario.
Yeah.
Which I thought it is not relevant because if you buy a house
yeah.
By the bank with 1 million,
yes,
they're going to hammer you with the interest.
Yes.
Whatever. I'm looking at about 1.5 million. Even if you pay the 100%, I mean 100 grand as a deposit.
Yes.
So by the time you're going to sell that house, you still have interest to take care of. So you did not actually made anything if that's what you wanted to do. But then this guy, he went cash.
Yes.
So if he's cashing everything. His gold, his kids, now, that scenario, I bet it did not go well with me because it did not really make sense. In that
all right, right. Now,
I can explain about my personal experience around it.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I can tell you about my personal experience. I bought a house in Cape Town. I didn't even stay there. Here, I'll give you an example. Kilo gets you on 100,000. I didn't even stay there. Had it on occupation, I went out. You get that 200,000. So, what Rastif is not saying. Rastif, I don't know what they knew. 20 years why they over the country are just coming in and out, and there are people who are doing that. I think you put in the money.
You don't charge interest.
No, you don't even get there. Hadraga, my other house in Cape Town. I didn't even have to stay good day. Put a deposit in. This is how much the house cost. Before you stay there, what is the price setting? I should say.
Right, but just fine. Let me just add to that. Like I said, this was a very simplistic case. I deliberately did not talk about the interest. There are interests that are involved. Okay, there are interests, there are charges, there are fees. We do not have the time of day in this meeting to unpack those. All right. Now, even this, like my brother, I want you to not miss this. Include any interest and any charges at all, and that was deliberate. All right. We can calculate those, but we don't have the time now to do that. The point I was making is, if you want to get in and out of the market, and I deliberately said you buy this property, and in 2 months, that's what I said. I think I said 3 months. In 3 months, the property value has gone up. You want to pull out. Okay. So I'm not talking about a case where you buy a house and you stay there for 10 years or for 20 years, and deliberately avoided that. You buy it, stay for 3 months, and you sell that. That difference, is your money. You've made a profit. Of course, there will be some charges, but I don't think we've got the time to go into those charges. But we can. All right. The one side shares is you buy ordinary shares, like you were saying, and then the other side you get the derivatives. That's the difference. You either buy ordinary shares, where you pay the full value of the instrument. You pay the full value, as in that 60,000 right in the case of NASPAS. Or you go the route of derivatives, which basically says it's been derived from the underlying instrument. But again, we cannot help you understand what this means completely in this session. It's just an idea that I want to leave with you. Muruti mtawinki khuboni, akenke muruti makheta pili, then kitla mkhwen. Kapila fela tata banda bala linaba. Yeah. Yes. Right. Penny stocks or small caps are shares steady costing below 10 rand. All right. Like your Merafi resources. It's a mining company. Pan-African Resources is a mining company. I think it's the cheapest gold mining company on the JSE. Pan-African Resources. Share one fella. I think Mabani Kwetsika R2.19. R2.19. So you can buy my favorite stocks. PAN, Pan-African Resources. Now, they're not necessarily bad. Companies like Capitec was once a small cap. You know, certainly very, very cheap. And then in no time, Zoom, well over 200 rand.
No.
It dropped it.
Yeah.
It's 178 share.
No, it's 201.
Right, 201, but it was once a small cap. Most of these companies were once penny stocks. You know, your Gijima is doing very badly now. The thing about penny stocks is you have to research that company very carefully, because most of those companies are not even on the main board of the JSE. They are on the alternative exchange. Some of them are still making plans to migrate later on onto the main board of the JSE. But they are good. So we have good companies there. But unfortunately, you'll have your other companies that won't do that very well. Advantage on small caps is they're very affordable. Okay? Like your Ellis. Ellis, I mean, it's about 8.50 share one, which is affordable. So I know there's a company called Red Hot Penny Stocks. Maybe you have Fleet Street Publishers. Maybe some of those small caps are good and others are not so good. But if you've done your research, checked your fundamentals of that company, who owns it and what's the business model, are they making profits, what's their vision, and all those fundamental factors, then you can get into that small stock.
Yeah. I was just saying to you guys, you are bringing this issue start investments.
Yeah.
Please make your research for us. It is safe. Don't. You know, I get angry when people talk about this thing because you do too much.
Yeah.
Honestly, I lost time. I lost money.
Yeah.
I lost money. I lost time.
Yeah.
Because I had to go and be trained.
Yeah.
I had to sit on my screen in certain times.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And we lost big time.
Yes.
And we were led Bazalwane into these things.
Yes.
So because I don't want it to discourage anybody.
Yes.
There's a good side
of it. Yeah.
And I believe this can take us very far.
Yes.
But you who bring these going,
yes.
Bring the 2 seconds. Yes. Shock at all.
Yes.
That the shock at all for we want regret, because once you get disappointed,
yeah.
If you stand there,
yeah. You want to kill somebody. You want to. Yeah. Oh,
but maybe some of them we don't really need to answer them.
Yes.
Well, Yamatomnele, Yona issue Yamuruti Mutaung, Lena Kilega Lika.
Yes.
Yona EU and Lena was eaten big time. But I realized Kurkana go Kikitabaya enable Kikintate Mashao.
Yes.
You realize or not? You don't have to blame other people for that.
Yeah.
You know, personally, I understand how to, to buy and sell.
Yeah.
And if I understood it, maybe I would have made a lot of money.
Yeah.
That was what I've learned.
Yeah.
But the other thing, maybe next time I this is a topic is But what I want maybe perhaps to come out to get the cost of mentorship.
Yes.
Because there are costs obviously.
Yes.
In mentorship. For a mutuaka kono huizi, for and so that it's very interesting, but we also need to know.
Yes. Okay. And I'm sure we can deal with those fella because any mentor will charge for your card. Bottom line, Bazalwane, big time. How about you tried with this, wajiwa. Try that, wajiwa. But for now, I'm going to do this thing until it works. Too much. I've come too far to to just fail and just live like that. But I'm sure today got the address I fell over to and then thank you very much for your time. It's my time.